Hello students, welcome to the second video on Unit 2 Classical Statistics and Quantum Statistics. In this video, we will study what is Maxwell's Boltzmann statistics. This statistics was proposed by Maxwell and Boltzmann, so it is named after these two scientists. So it is called Maxwell Boltzmann statistics or classical statistics also, isn't it? So if the number of particles is more when we deal with uh, 10 to the power 28 particles, then we cannot find out the individual values like pressure, temperature, and etc. Energy, like that. We cannot trace these values for individual particles. So we have to apply a statistical tool or statistical mechanics to study a system of 10 to the power 28 particles. If the number of particles is large, we have to apply statistical mechanics to such type of a system, isn't it? So here we are going to study what is meant by a Mac, the statistics proposed by Maxwell and Boltzmann, isn't it? So Maxwell's and Boltzmann's distribution law, isn't it? So how the energy is distributed among various energy levels according to Maxwell's Boltzmann distribution law. So, let us consider a system of n distinguishable molecules of gas. So, this Maxwell's Boltzmann statistics is applicable to identical and distinguishable particles like atoms and molecules of gas. The particles are identical, they are alike and distinguishable. We can distinguish between which is particle A, which is particle B, and which is particle C, isn't it? Or let us consider an examples of say 100 balloons which are of same color, isn't it, and same size. So these balloons, if they are numbered, number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on up to 100, isn't it? So as these balloons are identical, they look alike, but they are distinguishable, isn't it? So we can apply Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics to such type of system. So molecules of gas belong to such type of a system. So let us consider a system of n distinguishable molecules of gas. Suppose n1 of them have energy E1. So let n1 number of molecules have energy E1, n2 have energy E2, and so on. Ni have energy Ei, isn't it? So these particles or molecules are distributed in various energy levels. They are possessing various energies, isn't it? So let us consider let n1 number of gas molecules are having energy E1, n2 number of gas molecules are having energy E2, and so on. Say Ni number of gas molecules have energy Ei. The entire assembly of molecules can be divided into different states with energies E1, E2, E3, and so on up to Ei, and having number of molecules or particles N1, N2, N3, and so on up to Ni, isn't it? So we are considering a assembly of n number of molecules. They are divided in different energy states. and these n number of molecules are divided in these energy states. For example, n1 number of molecules are possessing energy E1, n2 number of molecules are possessing energy E2, and so on, isn't it? Here the total number of molecules n is constant. So in that system, no molecules can enter the system, or suppose it is suppose a isolated system, isn't it? So molecules can neither leave that system or enter into that system. Therefore the total number of molecules n is constant. Hence n is equal to, capital N is equal to n1 plus n2 plus n3 plus and so on up to ni, which is equal to constant. But these atoms and molecules make a transition from one energy state to another energy state, isn't it? So as they can move from one energy state to another energy state, the number of molecules, if in a certain energy state decreases, same number of molecules will increase in some other energy state. So there is no molecules are going to enter into the system. Only these molecules can make a transition from one energy state to another energy state. Therefore change in the number of molecules, if you add make a summation of change in the number of molecules, if in certain energy level number of molecules increases, certainly this many number of molecules will decrease from certain other energy levels. Therefore delta n is equal to delta n1 plus delta n2 plus delta n3 plus and so on plus delta ni plus and so on is equal to 0. So there is no change in the number of molecules. That is, summation of delta ni is equal to 0. Which means that the total number of molecules remains constant, isn't it? So this is the first assumption or restriction, we can say it as. And the total energy E of the gas molecules is also constant. So total energy E is also constant, isn't it? So E is equal to E1 into N1 plus E2 into N2 plus E3 into N3 plus and so on, EI into Ni plus and so on is equal to constant. We have assumed that N1 number of molecules are possessing energy E1. So total energy of this N1 number of molecules is N1 into E1. Similarly, N2 number of molecules are possessing energy E2. So total energy is equal to N2 plus E2. And if you go on summing these terms, you get the total energy. E is equal to E1 N1 plus E2 N2 plus E3 N3 and so on, which is equal to constant or change in energy. So it is an isolated system, isn't it? So delta E is equal to E1. So the energy of the energy level is not going to change, only the number of particles are going to change. So that is delta N1 plus E2, which is again constant, into delta N2 plus E3 into delta N3 plus and so on, plus EI delta Ni plus and so on is equal to 0. That is, summation of EI into delta Ni is equal to 0. EI into delta Ni is equal to 0. So the total energy of the all the gas molecules taken together remains constant. So these are the two conditions. Total number of atoms and molecules remains the same. Total energy of the system remains constant, isn't it? Now let us move further. Suppose there are GI cells with energy EI. So suppose they are GI cells with energy EI. Let us imagine an example of a movie theater, isn't it? So there are different classes in a theater, like silver, gold, platinum, isn't it? And there are different rows in each class, isn't it? And seats number of seats are there in each row. So we can consider this GI cells to be the seats uh, in that class. I can explain it in Marathi, isn't it? So आपण असं एक उदाहरण पाहू की आपण एका सिनेमा थिएटरमध्ये गेलेलो आहोत आणि त्या सिनेमा थिएटरमध्ये वेगवेगळे क्लासेस असतात. जसं तुम्हाला माहीत आहे की सिल्वर, गोल्ड, प्लॅटिनम, इजंट इट? आणि त्या प्रत्येक क्लासमध्ये ठराविक खुर्च्या असतात आणि त्या खुर्च्या वेगवेगळ्या रांगेमध्ये अरेंज केलेल्या असतात, इजंट इट? तर प्रत्येक क्लासमध्ये समजा प्लॅटिनम त्याच्यामध्ये समजा काही 50 खुर्च्या आहेत, गोल्डमध्ये समजा 100 खुर्च्या आहेत, सिल्वरमध्ये समजा 150 खुर्च्या आहेत आणि ते वेगवेगळ्या रांगेमध्ये अरेंज केलेले आहेत. तर हे आपण असं गृहीत समजू शकतो, असं आपण गृहीत धरू की हे जे नंबर ऑफ सीट्स आहेत किंवा ह्या ज्या खुर्च्या आहेत दॅट ह्या खुर्च्या म्हणजे GI नंबर ऑफ सेल्स इन द एनर्जी लेवल EI, इजंट इट? EI म्हणजे काय? आपण गोल्ड किंवा सिल्वर किंवा प्लॅटिनम क्लास आपण गृहीत धरू ज्याचं तिकीट वेगवेगळं असते. समजा आपण गृहीत धरू की सिल्वर क्लासचं तिकीट 50 रुपये आहे, गोल्डन क्लासचं तिकीट 100 रुपये आहे आणि प्लॅटिनम क्लासचं तिकीट 150 रुपये आहे. समजा प्लॅटिनम क्लासमध्ये 10 व्यक्ती बसले तर किती पैसे गोळा होतील आपल्याला? 10 गुणिले 150 म्हणजे 1500 रुपये, इजंट इट? अशा पद्धतीनं हे एनर्जीसुद्धा अशाच पद्धतीनं डिस्ट्रीब्यूट झालेली आहे वेगवेगळ्या एनर्जी स्टेटमध्ये, ठीक आहे? So suppose there are GI cells with energy EI. The total number of ways in which Ni molecules can have energy EI is GI to the power Ni, isn't it? So we have seen in case of two particles, 4 number of particles to be arranged in 2 compartments, isn't it? So the number of ways in which these 4 particles can be arranged in 2 compartments is 2 to the power 4 is equal to 16, like that. Here the total number of ways in which Ni molecules can have energy EI is GI to the power Ni. Hence the total number of ways in which N molecules can be distributed among various energies, isn't it? So let us consider that there are G1 number of cells in energy level E1, G2 number of cells in energy level E2, G3 number of cells in energy level E3, and N1 number of particles are arranged in this G1 number of cells, N2 number of particles are arranged in G2 number of cells, and so on, isn't it? So the total number of ways in which N molecules can be distributed among the various energies is W1 is equal to G1 to the power N1, G2 to the power N2, G3 to the power N3, and so on, Gi to the power Ni, isn't it? The number of ways in which the groups of N1, N2, N3, and so on Ni particles can be chosen from N particles is given by, isn't it? So in how many number of ways we can choose N1 number of particles in the energy level E1, N2 number of particles in energy level E2. So the number of ways in which the groups of N1, N2, N3, and so on Ni particles can be chosen from N particles is W2 is equal to n factorial divided by n1 factorial into n2 factorial into n3 factorial and so on. The number of distinguishable ways in which n molecules can be distributed, total n number of molecules can be distributed among the possible energy levels is W1 into W2, isn't it? So the first W1 gives the total number of ways in which n molecules can be distributed among the various energies, isn't it? Is W1, and W2 gives the number of ways in which these groups of particles can be chosen from n number of particles, which gives W2. So the total number of distinguishable ways in which n molecules can be distributed among the possible energy levels is W is equal to W1 into W2, that is n factorial divided by n1 factorial into n2 factorial into n3 factorial into g1 to the power n1, g2 to the power n2, g3 to the power n3 and so on. Let us consider this equation to be equation number 3. This quantity W is called as thermodynamic probability. Thermodynamic probability means the number of microstates within a macrostate, isn't it? Number of microstates within a macrostate is called as thermodynamic probability. So the W is called as thermodynamic probability. For the most probable distribution, W is maximum subjected to the restriction that total number of particles n and the total energy E is constant. What we want is that this W, the thermodynamic probability of the system, isn't it? So this should be maximum, isn't it? So in equilibrium condition, we will find that the system is in one of the microstates, and that is the most probable state. So the probability of finding the system in that state is greater than the probability of finding the system in all the other states added together, isn't it? So this is the most probable state. This is the most probable state. So for the most probable distribution, W is maximum subjected to the restriction that the total number of particles n and the energy E are constant, isn't it? Now, taking natural logarithm of equation 3, that is the previous equation, this equation, taking the natural logarithm of this equation, log of W is equal to log of n factorial minus summation of ni factorial plus summation of ni log of gi, isn't it? So here log of W is equal to log of ni factorial minus summation of ni factorial into plus summation of ni log of gi factorial, isn't it? So sorry, log of W is equal to log of n factorial minus log of ni factorial plus summation of ni log of gi, isn't it? By Stirling's theorem, what Stirling's theorem states is that log of n factorial is equal to n log n minus n. Let us apply this Stirling's approximation or theorem. What this theorem states? Log of n factorial is equal to n log n minus n. We can apply it for this term, we can apply it for this term, isn't it? These two terms. So log of W is equal to n log n minus n for this log of n factorial minus ni log of ni plus minus summation of ni log of ni plus summation of ni, isn't it? Plus this term as it is, summation of ni log of gi, isn't it? So here summation of ni, summation of Ni is nothing but total number of particles n. So this summation of Ni is equal to capital N. So this capital N plus n and minus n will cancel, and the term we get is log of W is equal to n log n minus summation of Ni log of Ni, this term as it is, plus summation of Ni log of Gi, this term as it is. From equation number 4, we have for maximum W, for the maximum value of the thermodynamic probability for the most probable distribution, we have delta log of W max, isn't it, is equal to minus, you take the differentiation of this equation, isn't it? So n log n is constant, so differentiation of this term is 0, differentiation of this term, isn't it? So keeping Ni constant, take the derivative of log of Ni, which is minus summation of Ni log of Ni, derivative of log of Ni is 1 upon Ni into delta Ni, again derivative of this term, keeping log of Ni constant, minus summation of log of Ni delta Ni, plus here Gi is equal to constant, log of Gi is equal to constant, number of states is equal to constant, total number of seats in the theater, that example we have considered, is going to be constant, that is not going to change. Only the audience coming to see the movie is going to change for each शो, isn't it? So प्रत्येक शोसाठी तो सिनेमा पाहायला येणाऱ्या प्रेक्षकांची संख्या बदलणार आहे, पण त्या थिएटरमध्ये असणाऱ्या सीट्सची संख्या, खुर्च्यांची संख्या बदलणार नाही. म्हणून हे जे जी आय जे आहे ते कॉन्स्टंट आहे, म्हणून लॉग ऑफ जी आय इज ए कॉन्स्टंट. आणि चेंज काय होणार आहे, एन आय, म्हणजे तो सिनेमा पाहायला येणाऱ्या प्रेक्षकांची संख्या, isn't it? So here Gi is constant, that is log of Gi is constant, so taking the derivative of delta Ni, that is Ni, so we get this term, and this should be equal to 0, this should be equal to 0, isn't it? So this Ni will cancel, summation of delta Ni is equal to 0, so this term becomes 0. So we get this remaining these two terms, minus log of Ni delta Ni plus log summation of log of Gi delta Ni is equal to 0, as summation of delta Ni is equal to 0. So from equation 1 and 2 can be incorporated in equation 5 by making use of Lagrange method of undetermined multipliers. So this is, in order to find maxima or minima, there is a method in mathematics which is called as Lagrange method of undetermined multipliers. You can search on YouTube. There are number of videos on how to find out about the Lagrange method of undetermined multipliers, or you can go through any mathematics book, isn't it? So there you will get this method, isn't it? So here, in order to find the maxima or minima of certain function, isn't it, we make use of this method which is called as Lagrange method of undetermined multipliers. Here we are multiplying with certain constants whose values we don't know at present, isn't it? So that is why they are called as undetermined multipliers. So what we are going to do, we are going to multiply equation 1 by minus alpha, equation 2 by minus beta, and adding it to equation 5 to this equation. We are going to add these two terms after equation, we are going to multiply equation 1 by minus alpha, equation 2 by minus beta, and add these two terms to equation number 5. So what is equation 1? Equation 1 is delta, summation of delta Ni. Equation 2, summation of Ei into delta Ni. Sorry, isn't it? So now we have multiplied it, isn't it? So we have multiplied equation 1 by minus alpha. We have multiplied this equation 1 by minus alpha. What we get? Minus alpha delta Ni. Then we have multiplied it by minus beta Ei delta Ni. We are taking delta Ni constant. So remaining is minus alpha minus beta Ei. So that is depicted here. Minus alpha minus beta Ei, and this previous term as it is after taking this delta Ni common. So minus log of Ni plus log of Gi, minus log of Ni plus log of Gi minus alpha minus beta Ei into delta Ni is equal to 0, isn't it? So this term will be maximum only if this term is equal to 0. This term is equal to 0. As delta Ni is not going to be 0, so this term is going to be 0, isn't it? So equating this term with 0, what we get? Minus log of Ni plus Gi minus alpha minus beta Ei is equal to 0. Multiplying this equation throughout by minus sign, what we get? Plus log of Ni minus log of Gi plus alpha plus beta Ei. If you transfer these two terms on the right hand side, you will get again they to be minus, isn't it? So plus log of Ni minus log of Gi, which is equal to log of Ni upon Gi, or taking anti-log of that term, what we get? Ni upon Gi is equal to e to the power minus alpha e to the power minus beta Ei, or this is called as, this equation is called as Maxwell's Boltzmann distribution law. So this distribution law gives us the most probable distribution, isn't it? So number of particles distributed in different energy levels, isn't it? So this is called as the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law. Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution in terms of temperature, it can be shown that beta is equal to 1 upon kT, where k is equal to Boltzmann's constant and T is absolute temperature. Substituting for beta, which is equal to 1 upon kT, Ni is equal to Gi into e to the power minus alpha into e to the power minus Ei upon kT. So this gives the most probable distribution, isn't it? So we are sure to find the system to be in a microstate, which is most probable. So energy is distributed among various energy levels by this kind of distribution law, isn't it? So this is called as Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law. Okay, so this kind of distribution is applicable to the particles having which are identical and in distribution, like the atoms and molecules of the gas, isn't it? So in today's session we have studied what is Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution law. So in the next video we will study two other kinds of distributions, Fermi-Dirac distribution and Bose-Einstein distribution. The treatment that we have met here is same in the other two distributions, isn't it? Only the value of the thermodynamic probability, that is W, is going to be changed because of the nature of the particles, isn't it? So with this we come to the end of the video. uh, uh, we will stop here. uh, thank you very much. Let us meet in the next video. Till then, take care. Goodbye.